Welcome to the UNCG Entry-Level Masters in Athletic Training Education Program, Preceptor Initial Training. I want to thank you for agreeing to be a preceptor for our program. I'm Aaron Terranova, the Clinical Coordinator for the UNCG MSAT program. This is the third of 4 video modules that you will need to complete to be a preceptor. As a reminder, for those who have done the first 2, at the end of the 4th module, there will be an online link to a survey that you have to do to verify your completion of this, and we will meet face-to-face, go over any issues or questions you might have. This is Module 3, and this is what it means to be a preceptor for UNCG. And we're going to start, if you remember, all the way back to Module 1 about the CAATE Standards. Now, this is the standards that we need to follow. We talked about program delivery in Module 1. Well, this is what it means to be a preceptor. And in particular, I want you to pay attention to letters A and D. And letter A, obviously, is supervise students during their clinical education. That's important because, again, we can't have students acting on their own or not being supervised. So that's going to be one of the most important things as a preceptor that you will do. But D is probably where you're going to see a lot of your efforts being directed. And that's providing the assessment of the students and their proficiencies, skills, decision makings, etc. We want your feedback, we want your expertise, we want your assessment skills to really be able to get in there with the students and show them what it means to be an athletic trainer in the real clinical setting. So that's probably going to be where the bulk of your effort's going to be directed, and in Module D we're going to talk about exactly how it is that you accomplish that. Now, to be a preceptor, all you need to be is credentialed in the state in the healthcare profession, and there is a glossary which includes physical therapists, athletic trainers, physician assistants, etc. So the other one is that you need to receive planned and ongoing education, which is the point of these modules. And there are actually continuing education modules that we have developed for all our preceptors to help you guys earn a couple CEUs for your own benefit. And these are all going to be available up on YouTube, and if you have any questions or comments or concerns about them, please feel free to contact me about your continuing education. Now, looking more sort of from a philosophical standpoint of what students think make an effective preceptor are all these different things. Obviously, respectful, confident, allowing for chances, skill, allowing students chances to demonstrate their skills, practice their skills. Meaning, if you don't know something, so you can help the student learn, being accessible, and discussing all the practical applications of what they're learning. So these are what students are looking for in a preceptor, and I know everyone has these, and these are characteristics that when you think about a preceptor from your past, or a supervisor, or an employee, whatever, these are probably the characteristics that you think of when you think of them. Now, how do we measure effectiveness? Is we look at their legal and ethical behavior, which is really just your general professionalism. How will you communicate both formally and informally, your relationship with your students, your athletes, etc. Your clinical skills and knowledge, and basically we assume that all of our preceptors are knowledgeable and have the clinical skills. We really don't go into and ever question your ability to be a preceptor. You're certified and you're in good standing. We just let you go. Part of these videos is to help you with your instructional skills, and this module in particular is going to help you with some of those instructional skills. We want to make sure that you are supervising and handling all the administrative skills that comes with being a preceptor, and we are actually going to do formal evaluations throughout the year. How we do our formal evaluations? Well, we do a student evaluation to preceptor, which the student completes online. The students also do a clinical site evaluation, which is again available online, and then you will sit down with your student and have a meeting to discuss these. These are done both at the midterm and at the end of your rotation. Every 2 weeks, the students will hand in a bi-weekly report, which summarizes the 2 weeks that they've had there, and there is a meeting that you have to do. So you're going to be meeting every 2 weeks with your student at the minimum, plus a midterm and finally formal evaluation, all of which gets sent to me as the clinical coordinator. I process all of this, I look at it, so if there are any issues, they shouldn't be withheld to the end of the semester. In addition, I will do site visits at least once a semester, and I will be meeting with the students one-on-one throughout the semester, also to discuss any issues, etc. Now, all these other evaluations, don't take it like they have to be negative. I want positive evaluations. I want to hear about the good things too, so don't ever feel afraid to shoot me a text message or send me an email saying, hey, by the way, so-and-so is doing a really good job in their clinical settings. Now we're going to kind of switch gears and go right into teaching and learning styles. And right off the bat, we have to realize that we typically teach how we prefer to learn. So as we go through the next couple slides, I kind of want you to think about your own teaching, your own learning, and see kind of where you fall in there. Now we're not trying to pigeonhole you into one of these learning styles or one of these teaching styles. We're simply trying to make you aware that they are out there. And nobody's going to fall into just one. They blend these lines tremendously. So don't think, oh, I'm always going to be an active learner. I'm always going to be a verbal learner or anything like that. These blend, these change through situations. We're going to go through a couple of them, and for each of them, I'm going to try to provide you a real life example so you can kind of read the slide, read the information. I'm going to kind of give you an example of what you're looking for. So the first one is an active or reflective learner. And the example you want to think of is an active learner. When you say, let's do taping, they're going to grab the roll and tape and start taping immediately. They're just going to be, I'm doing it, and boom, they're going. Whereas a reflective learner is going to be, okay, what do I need to do? I need my 3 anchors, I need 3 stirrups, I need to do 1 heel lock, 1 figure 8, etc. So both of them have challenges. So with the active learner who goes right into taping, you want to break them down. Wait a second, let's walk through the steps. Whereas a reflective learner, sometimes you have to say, okay, forget thinking about it, you got to go and actually do it. So again, think about in your own world where you kind of find yourself in different situations. Most people who feel comfortable in a particular environment, they're going to be probably a little bit more active, where if they're a little tentative, they might be a little bit more reflective. Our second sort of styles are sensing versus intuitive. Now the sensing people, they want to kind of go very systematically. They want to go history, observation, palpation, etc. So they might do an exam where a patient had a twisting mechanism. They felt a pop in their knee. They had a valgus collapse. It was an external rotation. They have swelling, lack of range of motion, no strength. And then they come to the Lockman. It's a negative Lockman. And it completely screws them up, and they don't know how to handle it. They're used to being very, very systematic because they don't like unpredictable situations. Whereas an intuitive learner, they're really good at sort of processing all this stuff and thinking about it, and they're very good at trying to look for things that really aren't there. So they might be more looking for the zebra. And by zebra, I mean that when they hear hoofbeats, they might think of zebras instead of horses. Or if they just learned about plicas, now every knee injury they see is a plica. They really try to be this sort of out of the wall house doctor kind of thing, and you have to challenge both these people, but obviously you would challenge the sensing people to be ready for these. Think about what could happen if it doesn't go A, B to C to D, and with the intuitive people, think about, okay, break your down to more systematic process for your skill sets. Visual and verbal is probably the most basic. Some people are visual and verbal. The visual people, show me the Lockman's test. The verbal people, talk me through how to do a Lockman's. And again, I think most athletic trainers are going to be pretty visual in nature. They like to be able to see it and then become very active and then actually go and do it. But again, this changes depending on your situation and where you're falling in terms of what you're doing for a skill. Now, looking at sequential and global, this is going to be very, very similar to the sensing and intuitive side, but sequential people, they like to follow a very logical process, and then they get to the end of their logical process and they kind of stall. So think of it as like return to play criteria. They'll do a wonderful exam. They'll go through everything very logically. You can even throw sort of a monkey wrench in there, and they get to the end, and okay, what do you do with it? So you've done your whole thing, and let's say the person has a grade 2 ankle sprain. Now what? I don't know. They don't know how to sort of see the bigger picture of, can we tape them and put them back in the game? Do we have to hold them out? Can they go limited, etc.? So you have to sort of make them see the big picture. Whereas the global people, they're going to be same. Let's say you have an ankle sprain, they go down, they can't play. Why? And you have to sort of break them back down to see, how did you get to this big picture? How did you get to the fact that the return to play criteria is they can't go anymore? You have to challenge again with both of these people. And see how you can work with both of them to sort of either get them to see the big picture, or they see the big picture. We got to break them back down and get them to understand how they reached where they got. Now, a quick homework assignment. There on the North Carolina State University website, they actually have a learning style inventory, which the link is right here, and you're going to notice in Module 4 we're going to talk about your clinical site orientation as some paperwork, and the link is there. And what you can do is you and your student can both complete this index of learning style questionnaire, and it's based on a continuum, which I really, really like, the fact that you're not pigeonholed into just one learning style. You sort of waver back and forth, which is why I like this more than like Meyer-Briggs or something like that, where it kind of says you are this learning style. But the idea here is just to sort of see these are your tendencies, and maybe your student might have different tendencies, and you might need to sort of work to find common ground between your two, and hopefully this will help start some conversations and maybe break down any potential barriers that might be there. So what do you do with all this information? Like I mentioned, talk to your student about your learning style. Keep it in mind throughout. So if you have a student who's just not understanding a concept, maybe go back to this learning style and say, you know what, the reason they're not understanding is because they seem to be a little bit more visual, and I am just been trying to verbalize it to them and they're just not picking it up. So again, use this information throughout your rotation with your student, and maybe you'll find in yourself that it'll actually help your own clinical practice. Now we're going to go into some different teaching strategies, and don't worry so much about the actual name of these strategies. This is more of just throwing some stuff out to you to be aware that this is out there. And guess what? You're probably doing all of these anyways, but there actually are formal strategies. And probably the first two are the ones we do most, which is modeling and coaching. We show it, they do it. We show, they do. And then we kind of take the next step, which is show, they do, and we coach them through the steps. So all of these are extremely effective and extremely applicable. Obviously, a first-year student who's very rough around the edges and very green will need a lot of modeling and coaching. We like to think that our second year students won't need so much. They shouldn't need so much. They should be sort of developing into the next set of teaching strategies, which is sort of backward chaining articulation. You should be able to take a second year student and, okay, explain your thought process. How did you work your way through it? And backward chaining I really like to do, especially with my second year students, with a rehab, so you know you have a post-op ACL coming in. Okay, let's work our way backward and figure out how did we get to this post-op. What do you think you're going to see when this patient comes in, and have them sort of work their way backwards through their examination before the patient even gets here. Again, these are pretty more advanced strategies, but it's something that our second year students should be able to handle pretty good. Questioning and feedback, and questioning is sort of a big one for me because I did some research on questioning, and the way I always used to question a student was I did the why technique. Why? And what you find out if you read the literature on this is that's actually really ineffective, because it sort of confuses the students, especially, and you probably had this experience where you know you want the student to say something or go down a certain pathway and they're just not getting there, and they get frustrated with you because you're just asking why. So real questioning needs to be effective. It needs to be planned and sequential. Understand where you want the student to go and make sure your questioning is getting them down that path. So really take some time to work on your questioning skills and really see if you can get them to be much more sequential in how you do it. Now, in terms of feedback, we want feedback from the students to be clear and specific, and really let them build on it. You're going to notice with our entry-level master students that they are hungry for knowledge and they take feedback really, really seriously. So the more feedback you get them, the more they're going to soak it up and eat it up. They really, really, really do love this kind of stuff. And then, so finally, the last part of this module is teachable moments, and that's just being able to take advantage of any learning opportunities. So even things that are beyond the rotation objective. So if they have an upper extremity rotation objective and they happen to see a torn ACL, take advantage of that opportunity. If you have a weird or an unusual dermatological condition, take advantage of that opportunity. If there's a surgery that the student can find, take advantage. Again, we want the students to soak up all of these learning opportunities. If you remember from past modules, we talked about scores, and the O was opportunistic. We want our students to take advantage of real-world, real-time opportunities. And the last bullet point is really important. That is that mistakes are okay and expected. Our students are very and truly motivated, and they are very, very hard on themselves. So just let them understand that mistakes are okay. We expect them to make mistakes, especially our first years, and that they need to grow and build and get better from these mistakes. So that's the end of the third module. It's kind of talking about teaching and learning styles. If you want to review this module, sort of review or highlight some of the teaching and learning strategies, that's fine. I didn't want to overwhelm you with anything. But the fourth module, keep in mind, will be the last module, and you'll have an online link to complete. And that's where we actually talk really about how we administer the program and sort of nuts and bolts of how you as a preceptor can really be integrated. So thank you for watching Module 3.